This is Gemara Metziah Daf Nun Beis, and today's shiur has been sponsored as an incredible schos aliyas neshama for Miriam Bas Eliazer by a close הכהן, by a close friend of the Daf, someone that I think we've been learning maybe all the way from the beginning together with. Absolutely incredible. Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. Miriam Bas Eliazer הכהen's yahrzeit was yesterday, and the schos HaTorah of Torah B'tzibur should be Maleh Miriam Bas Eliazer הכהן higher and higher in Gan Eden Shel Maila, be a militz yosher for her entire incredible family. We pick it up from the Mishnah on the bottom of Nun Aleph of Beis. We continue our discussion of Aina'ah, and our discussion of Aina'ah, of overcharging, today takes on a form of coins. Now, what does that mean? Let's read a few words of the Mishnah, and hopefully we'll gain clarity. Kama sela. How much can a sela, can a coin, chasera, be lacking? Lo yeheba inam, and there won't be aina. So if we look at the first Rashi keys us in, says Rashi, 6 lines at the end of the Amid, Matveya yotzei tamid, coins that are constantly used, useichek v'chasar, they get warned, and now they're lacking. Kama techsar, how much can be lacking in Metziah if you use it lo yehaina? So just to remind ourselves, a real coin, like the coins Bizman Chazal, had a weight, and they were worth their weight, whether it was in gold and silver and copper and other metals. As a coin is used, as a coin is constantly handled, the metals diminish. And now the question is, as it diminishes, the coin is really devalued. So how much can it be devalued? Can it be diminished? And not consider and not consider that you're frauding, overcharging the other party. Rameir Oimer Arba Isarois Isser Ladinner, says Rameir 4 Isser per Sela, which is an Isser per dinner, which, if you do the math, it really comes out to 1/24th. 1/24th. Rav Yehuda Omer Arba Pudyonois, Pudyon Ladinar, 4 Pudyons per Sela, which is a Pudyon per dinner, which is a 12th. And Rav Shimon Omer, as we turn over to Nun Beis Amud Aleph, Shmoine Pudyonois, 8 Pudyon, when it is Shnei Pudyonim Ladinar, 2 Pudyon per dinar, which is a 6. So 3 different opinions in the Mishnah, a 24th, a 12th, and finally ending with a 6. Continues the Gemara. Continues the Mishnah. An Masay Motor Lahachzir, until when can one back out when one gets such a coin that is lacking? How long does he have to want his refund? If you're in a large city, until the amount of time to show it to the money changer. Big farm in the smaller villages, ad arvei Shabbos, because there's no money changers, we give you until Erev Shabbos. Why? So Rashi fills in the details, because in Erev Shabbos, you go buy your food for Shabbos, and then you'll know if you're able to sell it or not, if you're able to utilize the coin or not. Imaya makira, if you recognize afil lachar sheimas achadash mikabla himenu, even after 12 months, he should accept it back from him. Now, who is the one that is recognizing? Again, Rashi fills in the blanks. Hanoisein makira, the one who gave the coin. If he recognizes it as his coin, then he should take it back even 12 months later. Rashi fills in the kasha, the obvious kasha. We just said Erev Shabbos. We'll get there. Vein alay alav ella tarumais, and he has no claim against him aside for tarumais. Ve'naisna lemaiser sheni, you're allowed to utilize it for maiser sheni. Ve'nechayshesh sheina yel nefesh ra. It's only considered, one is considered a nefesh ra, a not nice person, if he doesn't want to take such a coin. So let's dive into the Gemara, dealing a little bit deeper with these halachas of Eina'ah as a first coin. And we're going to begin with the first part of the Mishnah. The part of the Mishnah that deals with the amount that the coin could be diminished, could be eroded, and at what point you're not allowed to use it anymore. Says the Gemara of Rimini, I'll ask you a contradiction. Ad kama te'aselo chasira. How much can a coin be lacking? V'heba eina, and it will be considered eina. Amarav papa. So what's the kasha? Kasha is, let's let Rashi spell it out. Says Rashi, Alma Bahani Shiure Havana, with these amounts. Umasnisa Katani, Velo Yehe, Alma Bahani Shiri, Lavanahi Atika Tvei. So the question is, are these the numbers that until this amount is okay, more than this amount is going to be Aina? Or are these the numbers that are Aina? That is the kasha between the Mishnah and the Brisa. Answers the Gemara, Amar Rav Papa, explains Rav Papa, Loi kasha. Tana didan kachashem mimata lemala, Tana braka chashem melmala lemala. Melmala lemata, excuse me. Says the Gemara, just two different ways of counting. It's a word game, semantics as we would call it. Our Mishnah is talking about when there's a little bit of the coin lacking until the point where it's a problem, whereas the Bryce is talking about where it's a lot lacking and until what point it's back into circulation and therefore melmala lemata. Says the Gemara, Maishina bisela depligi. What's the reason that when it comes to a sela, our Mishnah, we have a machlekes, 3 shitais, the 24th, the 12th, the 6th. Umayshna betalis, delay pligi. And how come when it came to atalis, as Rashi points out, back from Memtasa Mebeis, we just said it's a shtos lemekach. Over there, everyone seemingly agreed it was a shtos, it was a 6. And over here, we have 3 shitais in our Mishnah. Amai Rava Mantana Talis, Rav Shimini. Probably the simpler teretz that in our Mishnah there is a shita that says a 6, which is Rav Shimon. Says Rava, that is whom the previous Mishnah is. Abaye Amar Talis Ad Shtos Machalinish. Says Abaye, there's a fundamental difference between selling a garment, selling an item, and selling a coin. When it comes to an item, when it comes to a talis, until a 6, it's normal for a person to be Meich. Why Damri Inshi? Ashik ligabech v'shavi likrasech. Oh, because as people say, overpay for that which you have, but pay that which is worth your stomach. What does that mean? We'll see in a second. But sela, but when it comes to a sela, kivon to loisagi lei, when it comes to a sela, since the coin is not regularly circulated, loy machel, therefore the person is not meichel. So says the Gemara, a fundamental difference between the two cases. Let's just see Rashi for a moment. Rashi speaks out, what's this phrase that we're using? Ashech ligabech, says Rashi, hitzrech liksois gufech v'gabech kana biyoker. When you need some clothing, sometimes you got to spend your money. But v'shaveh likrisech, when it comes to your food, loitikni ella v'shavech, don't spend more than that which it's worth. So therefore, the Gemara is learning out from here that when it comes to clothing, it's normal to pay more, and that's why says Abaye, the Mishnah of Talis, everyone agreed it's a shtos. In our Mishnah, when it comes to stam cash, then we have the machlekes as people more particular when it comes to their stam expenses. Continues the Gemara, Gufa. Let's go back to the Brisa that we started with. Gufa. Excuse me. Ad kama te'asela chasira. How much? And again, this Brisa was very similar to our Mishnah. We already explained that the Brisa is just calculating the other way. It says the Brisa, Ad kama te'asela chasira v'yebayna. Rameir Raimer. So we didn't quote the whole Brisa before, now we do. Rameir Raimer Abra Yisaris is ledinner. Rav Yudaimer Dal ben Yanais. Pudyan ledinner. Rav Shimon Aimer Shoma ben Ashnei b'yan ledinner. Yasser al Kain. Machra b'shavya. More than that, he sells it for its value. So that part was very similar to our Mishnah. Now continues the Brisa. Ad kama, until how much tipachas v'yirashe lekama, till how much can a coin be reduced and one is still able to keep it? Besela ad shekel, bedinar ad roiva, bachas mikein isur aser. How much is one allowed to keep the coin? To sell it till it's worn down to a shekel, a dinner to a quarter, an isser, then you're not allowed to. Hareza, at this point, loyim karena, you're not allowed to sell the coin, and even what it's worth right now, meaning once a coin gets eroded, devalued to this higher level, you're not allowed to use it. You can't even sell it for a lower amount. Why not? What's the problem? I'm selling it for its value. Says the Gemara, you know why? Smack in the middle of the Amid, the first one is Mipnei Shemiramin Bas Acherim, because the person who's buying it is going to deceive others. So what do? Meaning we're learning from over here, this is more in the realm of Lifnei Iver, this is more in the realm of Metziah L'Dvar Aveira, that there comes a point that due to the defective and the counterfeit, or the deceptive, I should say, nature of the item, you're not allowed to be an accomplice in keeping this coin in circulation. So rather, what do? Says the Mishnah, Ela Yikbena. You have to make a hole in the coin, V'yitzlena b'tzavar benoi, and you could utilize it as a necklace, and you could hang it on the neck of your son, Ay b'tzavar bitay. End of the Brisa. And now the Gemara is going to dissect piece by piece. Omar, B'selad shekel b'dinad roiva. Ask the Gemara, Ma'ishena. I don't understand why the different amounts. Ma'ishena b'selad shekel, Ma'ishena b'dinad roiva. Omar Abaye. Says Abaye, you know why? My roiva dekatani, nami, roiva shekel. What do I mean by roiva? Man, a quarter of a shekel, so it's the same amount. Amar Rava, and truth, dekinami dekatani tani roiva, v'lo dekatani revia. Shema mina. It doesn't say, from the fact that it says roiva, a quarter, and it doesn't say revia, which is a fourth. Shema mina, that this means a quarter of the item that we're discussing, which is the shekel. Question number 2 on the Brisa. Lama li limitalia ledinar b'shekel. What's the reason why we're using everything back in the ratio to the shekel? Answers the Gemara, teaching us a sidebar din. Milsa gavorche kamashlan dinar ta'asi mishekel. There is a dinar that comes from a shekel. Shekel is worth 2 dinarim, and therefore if a shekel coin is used up until the point that it's half its weight, you could use it as a dinar. For the fact that the Brisa gave one measurement in the other, it teaches us such a sidebar din. It says the Gemara, this is indeed Misrael Ravami, Tamar Ravami, dinar abami shekel, mutter lekaimo, dinar abami sela, aser lekaimo. So that's showing us this din that if it came from a shekel, then you're allowed to keep it around, because then you're allowed to use it as a shekel when it's at half its weight. But if it comes from a sela, then you are not. And we continue with the 2 dots. 15 lines to the bottom. Pachas mikan, isur, aser. My Amar. Says Gemara, what's the Brisa talking about? Amar Abaye. Says Abaye, Achi Gamar. Pachsa sela, yoiser michdei ayno. Isur, aser. If the sela was lacking more than the amount of ayna, then the coin is aser to use. Amar le Rava, iachi afilu mashu nami. If this is true, then even it's just a little bit more, it should be. Meaning, once you're beyond the ayna limit, then right away you should not be allowed to use it. So what does it mean? Yoser mechdei ayna iser. That if it's more than the kdei ayna, buy an iser. Ela amar Rava. So Rava doesn't like the pshat of Abaya, and rather comes along Rava and teaches Rava, Pachsa sela, iser ledinar aser. that if the sela was depreciated, diminished, Isser l'dinner, the amount of the value of an Isser per dinner, then it is Asr. Ustama Kirameir, and this Bryce is going with the opinion of Rameir, who we learned back in the Mishnah that Einav and Isser is per dinner, and that's what the Brisa is teaching us. Says the Gemara, Tanan Hasan. Okay, so now we know some basic halachas of the Einav coins. Sela shenifsala, you have a coin that was disqualified, and then Vitkina, you prepared it, you fixed it, sheishagol b'mishkalis. So you're not going to use it anymore. You can use it as a weight. What's the halacha? Tameya, it's mekabel tama. Because now it has a new value, a new usage. Now it has a new usage as a kli, as a weight, and therefore it's mekabel tama. Ad kama tibaches, asks the Mishnah of Iraishai lekaima. Until how much can the coin be reduced and you're still allowed to use it? Lesela shnei dinarim, pachs mikan, more than such an amount, yakut, you have to destroy it. And really, from this Bryce, it really brings out the depth of the previous halacha, that we see that these coins have some level of usage. You're using it as a weight. But once it is too much diminished, you're just not allowed to keep it around, and therefore it has to be altered so that no one will misuse it, abuse it. So yakut, you have to cut up the coin. Yeser al kain mai. But what if it's more than that? Then Amar Ravuna says Ravuna, pachas mikain. Amar Ravuna pachas mikain. If it's less than this, then yakut. Yeser al kain. If it's more than this, yakut. He also has to cut it up. Rav Ami Amar, Pachs Mikin Yakut, Yes Alkain, Yekayim. So again, the Brisa, or I should say, the Mishnah that we're quoting, the Tanan also, which is the Mishnah on Kilayim, the Mishnah, Kalim, the Mishnah is teaching me that the Selish Dinarim, less than that, you have to destroy. Says the Gemara, what about more than that? So Rav Huna says, it's the same din. More than that, less than that. Meaning Rav Huna learned that when it says pachas mikain, it meant any bit more or less, then you're just not allowed to use it and it has to be destroyed. Whereas Rav Ami was mechalik. So Meisvei asked the Gemara, as we turn over to Nun Beis Beis, says the Gemara, Yeser al kain, machra b'shavya, more than it, you sell it for its value. My lav shabachsa yoser mechdei nasa. And we see that you're allowed to sell it for its value. A raya to the opinion of Rav Ami, that you're allowed to keep the coin even more than that. Rav Huna said you always have to destroy it. But we see like Rav Ami, says the Gemara, loy, no raya. Yisera dakati loy pachsa v'chdei nasa. Means more, but it doesn't yet hit that value. Then Meichra b'shavya. Meisvei, the Gemara is another question Rav Huna. Ad kamti bachas yashel kaimo b'sela ad shekel. Marla de bachas porta. Answer lo idinavel nu Rav Ivchos b'chad zimna. So it's not a kasha on Rav Huna nor a raya to Rav Ami. Says the Gemara, going back to the Brisa we quoted in Amin Aleph, that what do you do with the coin when it's devalued too much? 10 lines down. First one line is Remin. He asked the Gemara, Mishka bin Mishka Leisav. You're not allowed to use it as a weight. Blazer cannot be Grutaisav, nor are you allowed to throw it amongst your pile of fragments of silver. You're not allowed to utilize it as a necklace. But we just said a second ago you could. Ella, rather, what does this Brisa say you should do? Or yischayik, you have to grind it down, yatach, melt it down, or yatach, cut it up, or yelech liyama melech, throw it into the sea. So this Brisa we see, once the coin is at this high level value, you have to completely obliterate it. Whereas we said you could hang it on as a necklace. Amar Rav Elazar, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Elazar, kasha, kan be'emsa, kan minatzad. There are different ways to pierce the coin. If you pierce it in the middle, that's where you're allowed to do it. When you're not allowed to do it is if you pierce it on the side. And the reason is, if you have a hole smack in the middle, says Rashi, then there's no worries about this item being utilized as currency, whereas not so if the hole is on this side. We'll continue quoting. We're at 15 lines down, the two dots. Ask the Gemara, my Shana, Mamish, the same kasha we started today with. My Shana Besela de Maflik, my Shana Betals delay Maflik. How come over here when it came to a seller we differentiated between where you live? And how come in the case of the talis we just gave a basic amount? Says the Gemara, two terutzim. Amar Abaye, says Abaye, ki tanan nami masnisan betalis bekrachim tanan. When the Mishnah is talking about a talis, talking about a large city, but it's true. If you're in a smaller city, you can have a longer time to deal with the item. Or Rava Amar talis, when it comes to a garment, kolinish kimle because everyone knows the value. Sela kimin lav kolinish kimle because everyone is holding the different value of currencies. El shalchani, only a money changer. That's why. Hilkach bekrakim diki shalchani achi el shalchani bekfarm the smaller towns like shalchani at Arvi Shabbosais. Why to sulk in the shuka? So machlek is then by and Rava whether the same din applies to talis or whether it's a din specific to a coin. We continue smack in the middle of the amid at the two dots. He should accept it back. Ask the Gemara, perhaps the obvious kasha. The first we just said a second ago, that how long do you have for the coin? Either you show it to the Shulchani in the large city or Arvi Shabbosais in the smaller towns. Now we're saying, but the person, if he recognizes that it's his coin that's deficient, he should always take it back. So ask the Gemara, Heicha, if it's a large, if it's the Krachim, if it's in a large city, Amrit Achir l'Shulchani b'Kfar Ma'amrit ad Arvei Shabbosais. So when does this apply that he should always take it back? Amar Rav Chisda, says Rav Chisda, what's going on over here is Midas Chasidos Shanukan. It's a higher level of piety. Ask the Gemara Yachim, a Sefer, what does the Sefer say? Ein Layalav El Tarumais. You could just complain, Leman. What's the Sefer talking about? Ila Chasid. Look up the kabla minei v'lo tarumas taveilei. V'aleheich the kabla minei. So someone who did accept it back. Ulabasam kabla minei tarumas taveilei. You could still have tarumais. So how do you read the Mishnah? Hachi kamar. Ha'acher aval pishein mekabla mei menu. Someone else. Ein layalav elo tarumais. There's nothing you could do aside for complain. And we finish with the two dots, about 20 lines from the bottom. You don't have to worry, you're allowed to utilize it for Meiser Sheni, because it's only a Nefesh Ra who doesn't want to accept such a coin as payment. Amar Rav Papa. Says Rav Papa, from the fact that the Mishnah is saying that you could accept, you utilize the item as Meiser Sheni, Shma Mina, Haiman Demukim Azuzei. This person who is stubborn about taking a coin, Mikri Nefesh Ra is called a Nefesh Ra. V'hani mili hu desagi lehu. But says the Gemara, when is this? It says only when the coins are still in circulation, just a little bit difficult. Messiah the Chizkiah, this is right, the Chizkiah, the Chizkiah, Bala Parta Bishavia. Come to exchange it, do with its value. Bala Chala, the Kanchka, and Mechala Biafia. Should do it in a good seller coin. My Kamar, what does Chizkiah mean? Hachi Kamar. This is what Chizkiah is teaching us. Afal pik shabala parta parta bishavya shabamechala mechala biyafa. Why? Lemeimar tisavar Chizkiah demizalzlin b'meiser sheni. Says the Gemara. This seems to say that Chizkiah holds that you're allowed to use a coin that is lacking and be mechalalit. For what? Yafa. As if it was a good coin. So it sounds like the Chizkiah is of the opinion you could be mizalzel. You could chip in, you could deal with Meiser Sheni lightly. That even though this coin is really devalued, you're giving it a full evaluation. But how could that be? V'amar Chizkiah Meiser Sheni Shein B'Shava Bruta. Aimer Hu V'Chaim Sheb'Cholam Meiser Yishaynais. Why? Fishev Shaladam Netzam Zei Meisav. So it seems like Chizkiah is very stringent with Meiser Sheni. Answers the Gemara, might be Yafa. What does that mean? B'toiras Yafa. Trei Zili. The Trei Zili loy mizalzalinon. Because we don't treat it lightly twice. Meaning once you're being mechalal it, b'toiras Yafa, you should be calculating it properly. Because we don't want Meiser Sheni to lose twice. We'll pick it up from here. B'siyata dishmaya.